to another video from oorail. This is part 2 of our power station project, and our focus today is going to be on our chimney here, which we've completed the paintwork on. So it's now Wednesday morning, and so I started this Sunday evening, and it's taken a couple of days, but nothing too crazy. So I used 3 types of paint. I used 2 Valspar primer paints, or paint and primer in one. One was flat black, the other one was autumn brown that was also flat. And I used a can of Rust-Oleum textured brown paint. And now there is one thing, one of the viewers pointed out in my previous video that you need to do something called etch priming in order for the paint to adhere to galvanized steel. Now, etch priming is a special type of primer that doesn't contain chemicals in it that react with the galvanized steel. So when they galvanize the metal, it contains zinc, and some of these chemicals that are in regular spray paint will react with the zinc and kind of create a kind of a soapy sort of reaction. And so what happens is typically the paint will just fall right off. So I was aware that I needed to do etch priming. However, the paint that I had purchased, the Valspar paint, doesn't actually contain the chemicals that react with the zinc, so you can actually use it on galvanized metal. Now, it may be something specific to those paint and primers from Valspar, so if you're not using that particular type of paint, you may want to do the etch priming just to be safe. Or you may want to do a bit of research to make sure the paint that you are using doesn't contain those chemicals. But yeah, so what I did was I basically painted the whole thing Sunday evening in the autumn brown. I used about 3 or 4 coats of paint, and what I did was I basically sat it outside on the front porch. And if you have cats, we have these big tubs, these 30-pound tubs of cat litter, and so they're big, huge kind of plastic, kind of almost rectangular shaped container. So they work very well for spray painting things. So I had that on the front porch with the chimney on top of it, and I basically spray painted the whole thing. The cat litter box also allows you to sort of rotate the cat litter box without actually having to touch the chimney, so it worked out pretty well. So I painted the whole thing, like I said, in the autumn brown. I let that dry for about an hour, hour and a half, and then I coated parts of it in black, and I let that dry for about an hour. And then what I did was I coated the whole thing with the Rust-Oleum textured paint, and that worked out pretty well. There was 1 or 2 spots on the back, luckily, where the tape was, where it looked like either I hadn't done enough primer coats, but that Rust-Oleum paint does actually contain the chemicals that can react with the zinc, and so that some of that textured paint actually just fell off. It really kind of looked like it was very, very slippery. So what I did was I was able to get it to adhere to about 3/4 of the chimney, but there was a section there by the tape that it really didn't like. So I wiped that off, and I adjusted the section by the tape, and then I reapplied 3 or 4 coats of the brown primer to it. I took that then inside after about an hour and let it dry overnight in the basement where it was a bit warmer. In the morning it looked pretty good, so I let it dry for about a day and a half. And then Tuesday afternoon, I basically re-spray painted over the textured paint with 3 or 4 coats of the Valspar autumn brown flat paint again, and that seemed to work pretty well. The texture kind of came through enough that it looked like it was the right kind of surface. And then finally, after about an hour after that dried, it was pretty warm yesterday, it was about 70 degrees or so. I then went ahead and spray painted the black around the top. If you look around up here, I basically spray painted the black around the top, and then spray painted the black paint down like so. And that gave me the look that I was looking for. One thing I did notice, the reason I actually did the respray painting yesterday, was when I brought it in, it looked fine Sunday night, but during Monday I noticed when it was up here on the layout, the light was shining, and at certain angles you could actually see bits and pieces almost like glitter. So I was trying to figure out what that was, and what it actually is that there's some of the galvanized steel was still shining through, that the layers of paint weren't dense enough. So I went ahead and Tuesday, like I said, I applied another couple of coats, and that seemed to have gone away. Now you can sort of see it if you squint and look at it at certain angles. You can still sort of see the metal shining through in a few places. It's not very much, but it kind of looks like it's moisture on the chimney. So I decided I would just leave it like that. Alright, so you can see here I've actually got the Class 56 sitting in front of the chimney stack, and the reason I did this is I actually have a couple of photos of Class 56s, I think a Class 50 and maybe a few Class 47s, driving in and around the couple of different power stations. And there's actually this kind of angle and this sort of distance from the chimney that you could actually see. So I was trying to see if I had the perspective correctly, and I'm quite happy that it looks like that I've got it done pretty well. So the next stage for this particular project is going to be to start constructing the scene in and around the chimney here. Now, one of the things we are doing is this wall here is going to have a back scene, and this wall here is going to have a back scene. And basically the chimney here is higher than I think the back scenes will come to like about here somewhere. So the chimney is actually higher than the back scene, so it's going to hide the cloud difference as well, which is great. So I'm going to use the chimney, like I said, to hide the transition between the two different back scenes. And I can't glue the chimney in place or really do any scenic work around the front of the chimney yet until those back scenes come in. So back scenes are on their way, and I expect them to come either late this week or early next week. So I suspect next week I'll make a fair amount of progress between the two back scenes and probably getting a lot of this power station project done. So what I'm going to be doing next is doing a little research, taking a look at some of the power station buildings around the UK and try to find something that fits this particular scene pretty well. And then I'll decide whether I'm going to either scratch build something. I have a lot of textures from model-sceneries.com, so I may go ahead and build something completely from scratch, or I may take their low factory or maybe Scale Scenes have a couple of really good factory warehouse buildings, and maybe I'll kit bash one of those, but we'll see. The plan right now is to get the chimney looking well, which I think I've done, so I'm very pleased with that. There's also the matter of trying to get it to smoke. Not quite sure yet how we're going to go about doing that. I have a couple ideas. There's been a lot of great comments, so thanks very much for that. But we're going to go and see what we can do to make it smoke as well. So I think what I'm going to probably do is cut a hole in the baseboard and add a second pipe into the inside of this stack. That way I've insulated it from the outer part so that it's not going to heat the back scene and possibly pull it off the wall, while at the same time it kind of leaves it open-ended so I can work on other parts of the scene without kind of being stuck on how to get that to smoke. But yeah, so that's the plan. So the plan is to finish the power station as quickly as I possibly can, because right here in front of the power station we need to put in the boards for the bridge and begin work on that. So that's really it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll leave you with a couple of shots of the Class 56 going in front of the chimney stack here, and until next time.